People are injured after a Delta Airlines plane flying from Minnesota crashed on the runway at Pearson Airport Monday afternoon and then flipped. For more on what we know so far this morning, I'm joined by John Graddick. He's a lecturer at McGill University's School of Aviation Management. John, I imagine you have been following this since this news broke yesterday. The big question this morning we know is how? What is the latest that you've been able to put together so far this morning?
Well, I think that, we've got the investigators and the TSB all over the airplane, and should have gotten the black boxes out of that airplane by now. It was fairly easy to get. I think the question you ask yourself when you're looking at that airplane upside down with the wings sheared off, it's an absolute miracle that everybody got out of that airplane without any fatalities. So it really is a phenomenal act that happened. Flight crew are going to get questioned, of course, in terms of how that landing took place and whether there were any, last minute or extreme weather conditions associated with that landing.
Yeah.
Looks like maybe, crosswind, maybe could be, impact on the ground. Could be a number of things that could have happened to that airplane. So we'll let the investigators find out.
John, I'm not sure if you can see the shot that we're sharing with our viewers right now. This plane is busted. It is broken. It is burned. It's covered in snow because we've had some snow and wind from last night. Obviously, investigators keeping it there on site so they continue their investigation. When we gather, which is what investigators will be doing today, is gathering, they're going to look at the condition of the plane. They're going to look at the weather conditions, but they're going to listen to these passenger stories. And, from at least two, we've heard that it hit super hard, and then the next thing they knew, they were upside down. One passenger saying he could see liquid running down the windows, and then everybody smelled gas. One guy described it as seeing an explosion out of one side of the plane. That's the burning that we saw in those, remarkable videos of it skidding down the runway in flames, black smoke. What did those passenger stories tell investigators, tell somebody like you about what might have happened?
It looks like, when you have that type of situation, the fuel running down the windows of the airplane on landing, the wing got ripped off the airplane, and that's where the fuel tanks are. The right-hand side of the airplane had some fire. That's why the flight attendants basically only opened the doors on the left-hand side of the airplane, and those two doors were used to evacuate the passengers. Passengers and crew were hanging upside down. Some people were saying they were hanging like bats. Mm-hmm. And I think that, you're totally discombobulated on the airplane when you're seeing yourself in that position. To get yourself unbuckled and then jump down to the seating of the airplane, which now happens to be the floor of the airplane, to get off the airplane is probably chaotic. So I think that the only thing that kind of concerned me was the speed by which the passengers got taken off the airplane. There were still people looking for bags and looking to get carry-on and taking it off the airplane. That probably slowed the exit slightly. That should not have happened. But the flight attendants did an admirable job of evacuating the airplane in under 2 minutes.
Well, I remember all the way back in 2005 in Air France, I think 90 seconds was the evacuation, and that was seen as what needed to be done to get everybody safe. You said that they unbuckled themselves and jumped, but most passengers describe it as a drop. One of them has a cut on the back of his head he thinks happened just in the melee that followed. Can we talk about weather conditions? We can see the plane is covered in snow this morning, but we know the runways had been cleared for at least 4 days. We knew this weather system was happening. Could snow have played and the wind have played a major factor? Because I don't know about you, I've never seen a plane flipped upside down like that.
Yeah, I've seen it, but I've seen it with smaller aircraft, like small, single passenger or small Cessna airplanes or Aztec airplanes. This is like a large commercial aircraft. For it to flip like that, something unusual happened. Understand that when you fly an airplane commercially, there are certain moments in the flight's path that are most critical and are causing, the most concern to people watching the industry is landing. You're taking an airplane down from 400 kilometers an hour, and you got to stop it on that runway.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of energy that has to be dissipated. There's a lot of control issues that have to happen. They have to watch the winds. They have to watch the runway conditions.
Yeah.
They have to have enough braking conditions on the runway for the airplane to stop when they put the brakes on. So there's a lot of factors associated with landing an airplane that somehow, some way, yesterday didn't work out the way they had planned. So hopefully we'll find out from the TSB rather quickly as to what exactly happened.
John, one last question really quickly, and it's a piece that we have of a clue anyway. The fact that they were cleared to land, what does that tell you between cleared to land and flipped upside down and burning?
Something happened in the last few seconds. I think that, like I mentioned, the critical aspect of flight control is the landing. You have conversation that took place between air traffic control and the flight crew that we heard that the crew was advised of bursts, of wind bursts, crosswinds, potentially. So they had to be, on their toes and keep your eyes out for control issues with the airplane on landing. So they were alerted. The crew was alerted by ATC that there was possibility of some severe wind gusts.
And as we know, the very latest this morning, obviously investigation ongoing, but 18 people injured, but everybody's safe. The crew doing a remarkable job. John Graddick, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure, Anne-Marie. Have a good day.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.